Hey, how's it going, guys? Ancient Rune here with a Once Human build video, and today I'll be going over my Brahminy build. This is a sniper build focused on getting those sick headshots that do amazing single target and mobbing damage. The bounce damage here is nuts and so satisfying to see go everywhere. This build has two different versions of playing with either weak spot or crits, and while I mainly focus on the weak spot version, I will also briefly mention gear for crits, as it is better for enemies that don't have a weak spot or just don't have an easy to hit weak spot, and can do some more damage or mix between weak spot with certain gear. This version is focused on staying at high HP instead of the low HP meta, as it is something I don't enjoy and like being able to take some hits. So with that, you will see my overall DPS being lower than others, but still more than viable to clear content easily. But despite that, I will still mention options for low HP with lunar mods, as well as being able to take advantage of the downstar mods and related starfall inversion tech. I also want you to keep in mind the damage I am showing is not peak for my build, as I am still farming for even better rolls for everything, but the base build itself works amazing, so you can hit even better results than me. Now let's get into it. Alright, so starting off, of course, we have the Brahminy. Has a 75% chance to trigger bounce on hit, with a 35% bounce damage against metahumans. We get 2 additional bounces, and hitting the environment can also trigger bounce with a damage drop off of 30% and a drop off of 95% against metahumans, and also has a weak swap priority with the bounces. Now, with bounce, it is considered a special ammo effect. Bounce to hit a random enemies within 15-meter radius, then bounce again. Each bounce deals damage equal to 40% of weapon damage. If no target is available, bounce to the environment. The effect is non-elemental. The additional damage can crit, strike weak spots, and will decay with distance. Then you have the actual factor of 40% times 1 plus bounce damage factor bonus times 1 plus bounce final damage bonus. So we'll be getting a lot of weak spot, weapon damage, and crit damage when available, as well as the bounce damage. Now you'll also want to keep in mind that bounce naturally has 2 bounces, and then this Brahminy here will add 2 more bounces. And then for the calibration, we are going frugal style. After missing a shot, automatically reload 1 ammo, and then the next shot that hits gains increased attack. This just helps if we accidentally miss, and then we get an extra shot with more damage, and just reloading is really nice. Now for the passives, with the weak spot build, you are going a double weak spot. If you are going crit, you want that double crit rate. This crit rate is going to be very important on here, as it's just easy way to get it going, especially since we only have 2% on our weapon. Now for the accessories, we are going for mainly accuracy and also some stability. So first we have the muzzle brake. This will give us a large amount of increased accuracy. Then we have the advanced sniper scope. This gives us stability, which helps get back what we lost in large break. And then we have the tactical laser sight with increased accuracy here. Then we have the tactical sniper rifle mag for more reload speed. Then for the ammo, we have the smart sniper rifle ammo, as when you trigger bounce, you will gain increased attack of 10% for 3 seconds. Now for the secondary, we are looking for stuff to apply bullseye. So for our main go-to will be the bingo, as this will easily apply bullseye, as when you swap to it, the first hit will trigger bullseye, as well as a 70% chance to trigger the bullseye upon hitting a weak spot. We are also taking advantage of, after hitting a non-metahuman unit, weak spot damage increased by 25% per 10 seconds, stacking up to 4 times. And I believe when you swap away from this, the stacks go in half. So we are getting an additional 50% weak spot damage at max for our Brahminy. This bottom part, after defeating a non-metahuman unit with a weak spot increased attack, this does not apply on swap, so we ignore that. But this weak spot damage will help here if we are going with the weak spot version. You also have the potential option of the wildfire, but since we're not increasing that weak spot damage, I wouldn't go the wildfire like other builds have the option to. For the crit version of the build, I would go the recurve crossbow instead of the bingo, as when you hit a weak spot, this will inflict the bullseye on the target and cause all weapons to have 15% crit rate versus targets with bullseye for 10 seconds. So we will get the bullseye like the bingo, and then a 15% increased crit rate, which is huge. Now, if it doesn't have an open weak spot, then this won't really be well, and then you can just swap to this bingo and swap back and not worry about this weak spot damage here. But this is still really good if you want the just regular crit build going. Then for the melee, we are going the Kukri, as after defeating a target, grant all weapons increased attack and crit rate. So this is going to be used for the weak spot version and the crit version, as we get that increased crit rate here. Now, how you will activate it is by using sticky ice crystals, which you get from the ice pot deviation. What you will do is you will throw down the crystal and then hold your weapon and then hold down the attack, and then you will gain the damage boost that you see right here. And you can just do that during combat if you need to, like during nightmares, or just when you hit a boss, you can activate it there. Now for the deviations. Basically, both having these for increasing our weapon damage, as that's both what they do, but the difference will be if they can hit the enemy. Your main thing is going to be the lone wolf, as this will give us increased weapon damage when it attacks an enemy. Now, it is a grounded enemy, so if the enemy's not on the ground, we will not be going the lone wolf here with the increased weapon damage, but instead we'll be going the zap cam, as it will give us increased weapon damage of the same amount, and you'll want to make sure you use the manual photograph. So just getting this weapon damage will just help our balance, and less crit or weak spot dependent, and just better consistent damage overall. But it's not like there's a better option than these two. Now for the gear, but before we get into that, make sure to like the video if you have enjoyed so far, and consider subscribing to the channel for more Once Human content, and maybe consider becoming a member to get videos early. Now for the key gear, really the only option here is going to be the sharp blade pants. This gives a bounce trigger count of +1. So what this will do is double your total bounces. So what we have here with our Brahminy is bounce automatically has 2 bounces. Then the bounces on the Brahminy effect has +2, so we have 4 bounces. And then it'll double it with the sharp blade pants, so we have a total of 8 bounces. Where you have you may think, hot dog shorts, this just increases the bounces. So this will give +2, which is like the same as it's doing Brahminy. So you have 2 bounces, +2 from Brahminy, +2 with hot dog shorts. So that's an 8 bounce versus 6 bounces. So pretty easy to know which one to go with. Now for the weak spot setup, this is going to be the armor I run with the 2 Renegade here for the reload speed and weak spot, the 1 Bastille for increased weapon damage, and then the Savior top with the medicine cooldown and increased weapon damage. Now something you could do, like maybe instead of Renegade, is going to be the Scout pants, which will give increased weapon damage, which at times can be better than the increased weak spot damage. So we're just basically stacking up a bunch of weapon damage and then some weak spot damage here. I also like the reload speed on here. You could also go instead of this Renegade or this, you could go another Renegade and get some reload speed. But we have some things so we don't actually reload as much. So I wouldn't exactly need that reload speed if I didn't want to. Now with the weak spot version, if you are going to go with low HP, then you can go Treacherous, which when below 70% HP at the 2-piece, you will gain 12% weapon damage, and that 3-piece, you will have a total of 50% weapon damage. And you would do this with probably the 3-piece Treacherous and then 2-piece Renegade for the weak spots. And now for high HP with the crit build, you are looking at 2-piece Lone Wolf, and then 1-piece Bastille, and then 2-piece Savior top. We have this for the base crit rate. So this +5% is very helpful, and I think we actually get another max shot with this mag boost here, which is really nice. Yeah, I have 9 shots instead of 8, so that's fun. So we'll have this 5% crit rate, very important. And then we have the Bastille and the Savior with the increased weapon damage going again. Now, again, with the low HP, you can go back to the Treacherous with the 3-piece with the 50% weapon damage, and then go the 2-piece Lone Wolf for that crit rate. And that will be more weapon damage than this double Bastille, double Savior by like over double. Yeah, this is 20% and versus 50. But I really like this medicine cooldown. Now for the mask hide. So there is a weak spot damage hide, but you really don't need weak spot damage as much as you need weapon damage. So I would not suggest it, but the wolfskin is here for that. Ideally, I would go the golden wolfskin, as this gives weapon and status damage of a total of 12%, and the percentage fluctuates between the two every second. And then there's also the opportunity for certain cowhide, like the Starfall Cowhide, where you gain 8% weapon damage when stamina is above 120 or higher, and then the effect doubles while airborne. And this can be really good if you're not moving around constantly, but a lot of times I am, so I would not go this personally, but it is an option if you play it right. And how you take advantage of this airborne stuff and anything future I mentioned will be with the gravity neutralizer. So basically you will activate it, and then you'll jump in the air, and then you can either just hold jump again and you'll be in the air, or you can hold jump and ADS, and even fully ADS like this. Now for the mods, but first we'll go over the passives. So what we're going to be looking for on our weapons and mask is going to be the bounce mod, and this is going to be bounce damage here. And then you will either go on whatever is weak spot or crit, whatever your build's focused on, one of those two, not trigger chance, just these. And then you will have either elite damage or great one damage, depending on what content you're doing. We have elites for the silos, and then the great ones for the monoliths. Now, if for some reason you don't have these yet and you're just starting early, you can go the precision for the weak spot plus weapon damage, or the violent for the crit damage plus weapon damage. And then for the weak spot with the rest of your gear, you're looking at precision, which will give weak spot damage and then weapon damage, as well as elite and great ones again. Now, if you are going the crit version, you have the option of Lunar and Downstar, because they have a crit roll, but do not have a weak spot roll here. So that's why weak spot isn't taken. So you can go the crit and weapon damage, which gives a huge amount compared to what we have up here. Like, this is double the amount you would have with the low HP for the lunar mods. And then again, you'd go the elite and great ones. And then for Downstar, again, you would go the crit damage plus weapon damage. And with the Downstar stuff, I would probably make sure you at all times have the Stardust energy drink, as this double jump just helps you stay higher than enemies, and this is a big thing that'll help with damage boost for making a constant crit build worth it. And then for the rest of your gear on your crit build, you are looking for violent with the crit damage and weapon damage. And then if you're not going the lunar and Downstar, you can technically go the violent as well for that. All right, and now for the mods, I'm going to go over the weak spot build first. First, we have multi-bounce. The more bounces, the higher the damage, up to 45%, 7.5% per bounce. This will easily be a hit, since each shot that has a bounce proc will give 8 bounces. So easily hitting this high damage here. Then for our secondary, we are having vulnerability amplifier. This is for all secondaries, which will give vulnerability increase 8%. And so the bullseye here will give a total of 16% damage boost here. And then for the kukri, you can put on a melee amplifier, which just increases your melee damage, which can be nice just for the fact that it can help guarantee the kill for that sticky ice cube. Then for the helmet, we have precision strike. Hitting a weak spot will grant increased weak spot damage, stacking up to 3 times for a total of 36% weak spot damage. Then for the mask, we have precision bounce. After triggering bounce 6 times, the next bullet's bounce damage is 125%. Now, this is easily hit since each bounce proc will proc 6 bounces. I don't know if this is the next shot has increased bounce damage or just like that 7th bounce will do it, but either way, we are getting huge damage from this and a must-have. Then for the top, we're really just looking for anything that will have good passives, but with high HP, I really like rejuvenating. But you can also go quick comeback, which will help restore your magazine. And this can be nice because we also have reload rampage as an option. So having quick comeback is just really nice, and you can get the weak spot version here and then just easily not have to reload your magazine and just have a healing shot. And we have a bunch of stuff regaining our ammo, so it's easy to keep up. Then for our pants, we are coming back to reload rampage. After killing an enemy, refill 2 bullets. Since we have bounces going everywhere, it's very easy to just hit a stray enemy and kill it. So it's easy to keep up these bullets, and then just less reloading, and that less reloading also gives us this weapon damage for longer. Then for the gloves, we are looking for munitions amplifier to increase our weapon damage instead of the weak spot damage, which the weapon weak spot damage boost will give, which is technically an option, but I would definitely go weapon damage instead. And then we have covered advance, which will give us 20% weapon damage for 30 seconds after taking no damage for 4 seconds. And this is easy to keep up as you just need to take no damage for 4 seconds, and then those 30 seconds, even if you take damage, that'll not be interrupted. All right, and now we are on to the crit version where we have multi-bounce again, but you'll see I was able to get a roll with crit damage here, which is really helpful. Then back here again with the recurve crossbow with the vulnerability amplifier, and then the same thing would go with the kukri with the melee amplifier. And then for the helmet, we don't really have anything that helps too much. You could technically go weapon symphony, but it decreases over time and we're not constantly swapping weapons, so you still just have precision strike, which isn't terrible because you still would like to hit weak spots on builds. It's just that weak spot can crit, so having that weak spot damage is still nice, but that also just means you could kind of just prioritize passives with crit damage, which I haven't got set up on this build yet for crit damage, so I still just have the weak spot. Then for the mask, we still have precision bounce with the bounce damage and everything going, and I already explained that. Then on here, I have quick comeback as I got a good quick comeback with crit damage here with weapon damage and damage to elites. And then we have the reload rampage, but with downstar now to get that increased damage, which is really helpful. And then this is a big thing you're going to want to have is the crit boost. There's technically 2 options, crit amplifier or crit boost. You lose a 5% crit chance for crit damage. I would much rather have this plus 5% crit rate over the crit damage, as you can't benefit from the crit damage if you can't crit, so better get that 5%, especially when you don't have the specific options up at all time like the recurve crossbow and the kukri bonus. So that's why I just go the crit boost. And then for the shoes, we are back with the covered advance, but I have it with downstar. Now for the cradle, it is the exact same for everyone. First off, we have anti-phase, gain increased damage with sniper rifles, as well as increased damage against different anomaly phase enemies. Then I like to have a rapid aid, as this will gain increased medicine cooldown, which means I can spam the medicine more. You can also put this with aerial suppression if you want. Then I have tactical combo, weapon damage is increased for 4 seconds after switching weapons or reloading. This will mainly probably be found with bossing and not during other stuff, since we're not reloading a lot during mobbing content. Or you can just swap away and swap back if you want to, but I don't know if it's that worth it for the 15%. Then we have Deviant Energy Defense for getting a shield to help protect our health, and will gain damage reduction while this shield is active. Then we have Tactical Leap for every 1 second spent airborne, gain increased damage against deviations and against their shields for 3 seconds, up to 60 seconds. And what's nice is you don't have to be airborne to benefit from this, you just have to be airborne to stack it. Now, if you're using Downstar, doesn't matter, you're airborne anyways. But if you're doing just regular, then you could still go airborne just to take advantage of stacking this. Then we have Deadly Combo. After triggering bullet effects like bounce or shrapnel, bullet effect damage is increased by 25%. So we're triggering bounce, so we're getting this damage all the time. Then we have Marked Strike. We gain increased weak spot damage against targets marked with bullseye. Then we have Bounce Rampage. After triggering a bounce, bounce damage increased by 5% for 15 seconds up to 5 stacks. So increased 25% bounce damage right there. Now for the food, we are looking at mainly the mixed fried hot dog, used to increase damage by 20% against enemies affected by bullseye. This is a really good damage increase and really easy to get and to make. It just takes these mushrooms, corn oil, and then you can get deer meat to increase that bonus even more in general. And then if you have the secondary spot because of the chef class, you could go bone-in deviated sausage against bosses, or you could go crumbly bread for even more weapon damage. And then there's also assorted canned fruit, which gains increased weak spot damage when your sanity is above 80%. And then for the drink, you just have Stardust energy drink. You can use this with the Downstar, which will help a lot, but also just helps with moving around and positioning. Also, another food you could use is the Stargazy Pie, which gains increased crit damage by 25% when your energy is full. I forgot about this. This is a new one I got here. Now for the playstyle, I'm just going to use the weak spot version here, but the crit is pretty much the same. It's basically just always make sure you have the gravity neutralizer going if you're using Downstar. And then also, instead of this bingo I have, you'd probably use a recurve crossbow. So you're going to want to make sure you have all your food buffs active on this specific showcase. I do not have them active right now. Then also make sure you have your gravity neutralizer active. Then we are going to activate our deviation onto the enemy and then throw our crystal, hold our bingo, hold down this, get the kill, shoot 4 times. It doesn't even have to be a weak spot, but then we're just going to do this and start shooting. And the more we go, the more our damage is going up. It's really just that easy. Now, of course, if you go the crit spot version, then the sticky ice crystal, you could spam it more if you really have to. I hope you guys enjoyed the build video. If you have any questions or any suggestions for improvements, make sure to comment them down below. This build is not the strongest, but also not weak in any case at all, and the different build styles make it very versatile for all types of content. It also feels very good to shoot, as it's an easy, viable sniper build with its ricocheting on the environment. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Once Human content, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.